So what I'm going to do now is have three videos. First one is just introduction and review of what we did before. So I'm not going to do any live programming here, just review of what the programming that we have done before. Then we will identify a problem with this and then we will solve it. Then we will have one more problem with it, we will solve it. And that would be the end of these three sets of videos. We are working with local storage. So what you see is a form here that allows you to input the name and a list of languages separated by space that this person can work with. And we are sticking to programming languages here. And on the right hand side, I have done the inspect element that we have looked at before. And I'm focusing on the storage and in particular the local storage. So on the right hand side, we will see the local storage. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go here and type my name. Then the languages I know, I started with Fortran, then I learned C, then I learned uh, Pascal, Ada, a whole bunch of languages as we know, we learn in principles of programming languages. I'm just going to keep on adding these. Prolog, then came C++, Object Pascal, then what else? The list goes on, of course. Java, PHP, JavaScript, Perl, and so on, right? So we can store these. So what your program is going to do is actually chop these at the space, and then we will have an array that says Fortran, second element C, third element Pascal, and so on. So let's see if that happens. We have done this before. So it's telling us that, it's doing something. JavaScript alert saying is storing that object. Name is Pawan, and the languages is an array. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it seems to be working. Okay. And if I went here and then come back here, then you can see that it seems to have created another object called language competency. And then the name says Pawan. I'll just go there. So we can keep on seeing what it has. So as you can see, it does have the languages that we mentioned as an array. So it seems to have worked. And let's just see how this is done using the code. First of all, what do we have here? A couple of labels, name, then the field for name, a label called languages, a field for languages, and then a button. So that should be a straightforward HTML page that we see here, where we have the label for name, and then the input for name, then label for lang, and then the input for lang, and then finally the button that we'll call the store lang function. And then we are going to display this information. Actually, we really didn't do any display anyway, but we could have if you wanted to in there. So the file is lang.js, the one that you will see here, where my pointer is pointing to. And I have, for your convenience, loaded it up here. We can have a look at it. This is the store lang function that will be called. So what we do is we first of all get the values from those two inputs. Then we split it, the string that we got called lang using space, and that creates an array of languages. We call that array LR. And I'm just quickly reviewing what we did in before. And then we created a JSON object, that is JavaScript object notation object that has two fields. The key for the first one is name, and the value is my name, which was retrieved from the form here. And then we have another field with the key languages, and that is going to be set to the variable LR that we got here by splitting the string that we received. And then once we have done this, we call the local storage.set item, and here we are saying that the name of that particular item should be called language competencies, and it should be a stringified version of the lang comp object that we created here. Okay. Now remember, variable name is just a variable name. It can be anything you want, but here we are fixing the name of the object. So now that part is important, the language competencies. And that's why when we looked at it here, we saw a language competencies object created here, and it had the values that we thought we should. So we can actually inspect our program as it is progressing, but that's not enough. So what we want to do is we want to actually see if we can recover these. I have a whatlang.html page open here. There is nothing here. If I refresh it, I get the message saying that Pawan knows 12 languages. The list of languages is as follows, and then the language number and the language name. This is a program that we developed in the last class. So let's have a look at the HTML corresponding to that. Nothing really in that particular HTML. We have a paragraph called preamble, paragraph with preamble ID. That's where we are going to write some information. And then we have a table, and the idea of that table is called format, and everything actually just happens in a method called showlang, right? And that will be in a file called getlang.js, which is right here. So we will spend a little bit more time learning this one. Okay. So what we do in this showlang function is we recover the object by using local storage .get item language competencies. So that's the object that will be retrieved. But since we had stringified it, we should reverse the stringification by using the method parse, so json.parse, and we are storing that in a variable called lang object. Remember, it's a variable, so it can be any name we want. Then we have a table and a paragraph, so we are getting those elements so we can add HTML code to that. Then the lang object has two fields. Name, we looked at that before. Name would be the first key, and languages is the second key for that one. So we have now stored those in two variables called my name and languages. My name will be just a string, and languages will be an array that we looked at before. And now we are setting the para inner HTML as follows. My name means the name of the person. Then we just have a string, space, nodes, space. And then we write down the, since languages is an array, we can get the length of that one. So Pawan knows 12 part. And then we just have a string that says languages. The list of languages is as follows. Okay, let's just have a quick look at how it looked when it was run. So here, as you can see, Pawan was the name, and then we said space nodes. Then 12 comes from the length of the array, and the rest of it, that is space, languages, whatever else, was another string that that was part of our program right here, the one that is highlighted. Okay, so we are done creating that paragraph. Now we are ready to go do the table. So just like before, we insert a row, then insert first column, then set its HTML to the text language number, and then insert one more column here, and then set its inner HTML to language name. So let's see how that looks here. That is what we get by setting the first row, right? That is my first row. A language number is the header for the first column, and language name is the header for the second column. And then we are going to have a for loop that's going to go. So let's have a that's going to print the rest of the table. So let's look at this for loop. Starts with I equal to 0, goes up to I languages.length. So since we have 12 numbers in there, it will go from 0 to 11. It's something that we have looked at in 1226 and 1227 and many other courses that you would have taken. So it is going to go from 0 to 11, and we bump it up by 1 using I++. Then what do? We create the row. Then we create a first column in that particular row, and we set it to I+1. Okay, because we don't want to say language number 0. I mean, it's okay for computer scientists and mathematicians to start at 0, but rest of the world starts at 1. So that's why, let me go back here, and we can see that we have 1 is where we start, not at 0, and then we write the first language that was in the array. So that's why we have I+1, and then we create one more row, one more column, and then set it to whatever is the string in languages I. So it will start with Fortran, then it will go to C, and go from there. Okay, so that is a review of what we did in the previous class. And then what we want to do is, so let's identify the problem with this. It was something that one of the students who doesn't have to be nameless pointed out. That is, if I change this, say for example, to say Nitin, let's say there is a person named Nitin. He probably did all of this, except he chose not to, and then later on he became a manager. He is now a director of software development in some Fortune 500 company. So from that point on, he doesn't do programming. He's not a working stiff anymore. So this is all he has. Okay. So if I insert this, you see here the name is Pawan in the local storage. I store this. What happens? I'm gone. I'll need to review the refresh this. So I'll just show it to you. So instead of Pawan now, the record is for Nitin. So it was overwritten. So if I wanted to have an array of these, it's not going to work, right? So that would be the problem that we're going to try and solve using a live program development. We will stop this particular video here and then come back to, I'll reintroduce this problem, and then we will go from there.